So this is Economy Cycle's website. Kind of a nice website. A lot of RD stuff there. And so here's the page. It's the center item. It comes black. It comes chrome. It's supposed to be a direct replacement or close fit anyway. Now today's project should be a very simple installation. We have from Economy Cycle, John at Economy Cycle, a package arrived late last night, and I am looking forward to seeing what this is going to look like, because the chrome on this original headlight rim has really deteriorated in the last couple of years. We've done everything we can to restore it and make it better. Still not perfect. And I saw, Luciano actually was the one who found it, I saw a replacement headlight, the cup, and the rim, and the bulb for $47 from Economy Cycle, so I decided to check it out. And John told me it's a pretty good fit except for drilling the holes. I guess we're going to find out momentarily. So the first order of business, flip the battery chargers. We're coming up to the end of that season. And I need to bring the RD out where I can conveniently work on it up by the workbench. Now we just did some work on our evil twin Suzuki, and of course the biggest thing of all, we did get a nice ride the other day, and that's on a previous video. And on a previous video I tried taking care of this with some aluminum foil. That made it a little bit better. I buffed it, polished it, but I want to see, and I'm hoping, I haven't even opened the box yet, that I can replace this whole thing. Now it comes black and chrome. I ordered the chrome for one reason. If it looks good in chrome and I like the look, because it may complement the polished engine, it may look, we're not trying to keep this bike to any, any style at all other than what we like, but I think that might be a nice compliment when it's done. And if it isn't, I always have the choice of just painting it black. But I don't think, and if I understand John right, it was not like I couldn't use the rim from the new one on this bucket. But again, before I do anything, I need to go down, I need to have the coffee and do the unboxing. And we'll let Pokey's project go for a day. It's in this time of year. He's in no rush to put that back together. It doesn't look like there's been gas in the tank for 10 years. So we'll work on that probably tomorrow. So right now we do our parking lot attendant thing and move bikes around, and it's really funny. Sometimes I think I am a parking attendant. Well, of course, the first thing, as always, every morning is to see if the fish are hungry. Are the fish hungry? Does Wendy want a cup of coffee? Hungry? We're always hungry. Boy, that's a given. Okay, so as we start every day, feed the animals, feed the birds, feed the fish, and feed Grandpa Wendy. And everybody must be fed before we start our work in the shop. Now, what is that, lentil soup?
It's not soup yet.
It's not soup yet.
I'm cooking a lentil.
It's not. Is it soup yet?
No.
So this is Economy Cycle's website. Kind of a nice website. A lot of RD stuff there. A lot of things that maybe if you're a two-stroke guy you'd be interested in. And so here's the page. It's the center item. It comes black. It comes chrome. It's supposed to be a direct replacement or close fit anyway. And the price is $47. Of course, there's shipping and tax, $47.50. So I always like to do an unboxing when I get new parts and I'm going to install them, so people have some idea. Now, anybody that's a follower of the channel knows it wasn't that long ago, maybe a week or two ago, we took the headlight off the RD and painted it, did some work on the instruments, and, well, that video, of course, is still out there. And this looks like it's very nicely packaged. So let's just see if it's our lucky day. Now, you never know. The thing with all these parts, and I always like to give everybody the benefit of a doubt, because when some people say it fits, to me it fits if I can drill it and shape it and bang it, and some people expect it to just go click. Oh, well, we'll see how this is. Now, it says on the box, just for truth in advertising. And again, this is not important stuff, but it's stuff I guess most of us already know. People like Luciano, people do two-stroke stuff already know. This is a 6 1/4 Honda type headlight replacement. Good for cafe racers. Chrome or black rim. 6 1/4 dot compliant. But anyway, all that's nonsense until you see how it looks. And let's take a little look at this. Oh, that's handy. Have the light thing. Okay, so self-explanatory. What that would be spliced into the wiring harness. I'm assuming this one doesn't fit. Well, one thing I can say, this is a nice heavy-duty unit. Wow. And you want to know something? The chrome looks absolutely flawless. So this will be worth whatever amount. It's an H4. I don't know what that means. And it looks like this is going to be quite a nice thing. The thing I was most concerned with, my rim is shot. And if I can get this to fit and look good, it may look good in chrome, just like what I said. If it doesn't, over the winter time next year I'll paint it. Now, John had told me the concern was that these have to be reamed out, drilled out, whatever. Not a big deal, of course. This goes on similar to the way a normal the RD headlight goes on. So this, and it's got a nice big hole. This is a big thing for the wires, because getting the wires in and out, and we found out in doing that first fitting that, because it was basically about 10 degrees over freezing, heating everything with a hairdryer, heat the wires so they're nice and soft, and then fish them through that hole one at a time. And more important, when you push them back, make sure you didn't loosen up any of the connections. But all that's on that video that's, I don't know, a week or two ago. Anyway, we're going to take this out to the shop. So far, I'm kind of enthusiastic about it. Looks like it's what my biggest concern was, the quality of the chrome, and I think that's really good. Now, if I could find somebody to chrome those mufflers and head pipes with this level of chrome, the only place they'll do it is in Mexico. They're not going to, thanks to the EPA. So I'm out in the garage, and I laid out all the parts and got the hairdryer ready, because it's still plenty cold out here. Early in the morning it's cold. I got my quartz heater going, and it's always a good thing if you're going to work on wiring in cold weather. Just warm it up when it's 35-40 degrees. Sometimes you snap the wires, or they just get brittle. That's a good tip. So step one is we're just going to do the reverse. I'm going to protect the fenders. Always put a towel down on our painted surfaces, because if we were to drop a screwdriver, a bolt, who knows what, a watermelon, I don't want to scratch that paint, needless to say. And that's a good tip, even if you're working, especially with any brake fluid, any chemicals, any tools, anything that can just drop, even a bolt, can chip the paint. Now, I always try my best when I'm doing these type of videos, or the videos that are on my channel, what I always try to do is make it that I don't leave any steps out, anything, because not everybody has got, in fact, this is going to be a screw that I've got to get my fingernail in there. All of these parts are definitely over 40 years old. And the trick is, when you have an old screw like this and it doesn't want to come out, a lot of times I've been able to get my fingernail under it just to get it started. And you can get your finger on it. Whoa! Exciting! Exciting world. Okay, so the first thing is to take the old headlight off. We have that off. We'll put the screws and tools away. And everything in there, of course, is freezing cold and rock hard. So we'll warm all this up with the hairdryer next. It is a really good tip in cold weather, anytime you're working on wiring, to warm it up. This plastic, especially when it's 40, 50 years old, it's just a lot nicer to work on. I don't like to use a heat gun. I like to use a hairdryer. Just let this warm up, let it get soft, because eventually we're going to have to fish it all out the back of the headlight. Now, next step on an RD, each one of these has to be grounded. And so there's a ground wire that's usually black, almost always black. And you also have a wire, and in this case, there's one for the left, one for the right. And I have to disconnect them, and what I've done, I'm not sure anybody would figure this out, but down there you can see I've marked them with tape and written on the tape which is which. A true sign of intelligence. But if you had them wrong, obviously you switch them. And I would always test all the electric stuff before I bolted everything back together. Now what I always like to do, I like to get all my wires, and I know which are which. I like to get these all loose before I even try to take the blinkers off. Have all of these in position. And this, what amounts to be, I call it a rat's nest. When these wires are nice and soft, one by one, once I take the shell off, we can just fish them through one at a time, trying not to rip any of the connectors apart or move anything. And it's intimidating when this doesn't want to come out. It can really, you can get annoyed and pull on it and create yourself a problem. But we've done this enough times that we should have no trouble doing this. But always keeping track of, each one of the blinkers has a wire and a ground. The headlight has 3 wires going to it. And they're all color coded, and you would think that wouldn't be that difficult, but the most difficult thing is getting those wires through that hole without disturbing anything. And this is a handy tool too when you're trying to get in there, and in this case I'm looking for the last of the ground wires, and you can see it's pretty, you got to be real careful moving things around, because again, all these wires in this case of this bike, they're almost 44 years old. So now it's kind of cut and dry from this point on. 12mm wrench. I don't want to lose any of the hardware. I don't know which, if we're going to use exactly this hardware when we put this back together, or we're going to make some change. I don't know. We won't know until we take it apart, but as always, these last 2 things have to come off without disturbing the wire. The nut, block washer, ground wire, and the rest of this now will come right out. Very carefully. I don't want to break that wire up in any way. And we have the whole assembly out. Now we're ready. I'm going to put this over on the bench and do the same thing to the other side. And again, all the information I try to put on all of my videos is basic 101 backyard mechanic. Let's try to get the job done. Let's try to help each other by sharing information. There's probably many other videos on YouTube of how to do this job. Maybe there's economy cycle videos, I don't even know. But the whole idea is if we share the information, it makes owning these old bikes a whole lot more fun. I have to mention once again how much I'm enjoying watching Alan Malliard's channel. Some of the very, very creative, unique things he's done with motorcycles. Actually, it blows me away how talented he is. Let me put these away. Just try to, you don't scratch anything. Let's get this washer can drop down. And now we should be able to get rid of the wrench. We should be able to lower this down. And we can start one by one fishing those wires out of the back. And this is where we're going to need even more heat. I'm going to warm those wires up with the hairdryer again. Now, if you've never seen Alan Malliard's channel on YouTube, there is some stuff, and he shows how he does. He made a Z1 with 6 cylinders that's in just the way I do videos in chapters, and it's really, really cool. It's really worth watching. Okay, now once these are warm, now this is the part that gets tempting to just push them all through at once, and you try, and if you do that you can make yourself a world of hurt. So I'm going to try one by one to figure out which ones can come through, and it's usually these giant connectors that are the problem. I don't know if you can see this, but this is the one part of if you're doing this job and you say, oh gee, I'm going to go get one of those headlights from Economy Cycle, and you have a problem right here trying to get the wires out, it'll be frustrating. And that's one of the good things about the videos, when people that share things, and boy, I appreciate everybody that shares them. Okay, so we got 90% of it. See, now when you get down to the bottom, this is where it starts getting tough. You got to one by one fish those through. One by one. Oh, and don't drop the headlight. Okay, we just painted this too, but even so, nice to have spare painted parts, evil twin parts. Now I can get in there while I have this apart, clean all that up with a rag with some wax on it. And we need to take these bushings out. I don't know, the new one didn't come with bushings. Well, we have the old bushings anyway. We have these. Now, because I just put a fresh front brake line on this bike, I did clean this. And it's so dirty already after 2 rides. 2 or 3 rides we went on. But I like to have it clean at least now. Putting it back together, get this clean. Okay, now, the challenge we're going to have is getting all these wires. I think it's going to be easier on the new part because it looks like the hole is a little bit bigger also. Now this will be the interesting part, is to take all of these wires and carefully, now it looks like this hole is a lot bigger in the back of this, so that's in our favor, of course. But everything has to get tucked in there with the least amount of disturbance. And then we have to see if we have to ream these holes out. I think John said that. I just want to make sure, oh yeah, this is going to go in without a problem at all. Wow. So this is a little bit of an upgrade over the stock part. I tried the just to see if the rims were interchangeable. They're not. And so this is like the only game in town right now. So, oh, everything fit in there beautifully. Wow. Amazing. Okay, so now these will, of course, go there. Okay. So now I just have to figure out how big this has to be reamed out. This hole, well, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. What I have to do is get one of the blinkers and see what the difference. I'll measure it up. John, you lied. They don't have to be drilled out. Well, all right, we caught John in a lie. There we go. Anyway, that doesn't, so now I can just start snapping this hardware in. This should really be a very, very easy thing from this point on. So let me just first thing get all the wires in here. These old bikes, all these old, they used a headlight. And you know, I remember one thing, I used to, when I got my the first H1, I wanted to put a square headlight on it, the style leader that I was at the time. And I bought this cool little light, and I never took into account all the crap that's in the headlight. Needless to say, it was a big job. Okay, so that's going to wind up. Actually, we don't even have to make a spacer for this, I don't think. No, we're just going to have to put some rubber maybe even the stock rubber washers will work. I guess we're just going to have to figure out what combination of rubber washers will get this nice and straight. Because I'd like to be able, of course, want to be able to adjust it. Oh, who knew this was going to be this easy? I thought this was going to be a lot harder than it was. And we got to rewire this, do some soldering on this. Well, they give you a new plug, but I don't know if this is, you can even use the old one. I guess we're going to find out. Now the way this is made is not a direct swap out, so I need to go through my little collection of rubber parts and get what amounts to be some rubber. This looks like just about the right size. Some rubber bushings, so that I don't want to have a metal to metal contact. I want to have a rubber bushing in there, and I'm going to have to improvise a little bit because these usually they're keyed in here so they don't rotate. In other words, the blinkers don't rotate, I guess, from vibration or whatever, but maybe the answer is going to be just put a little blue Loctite on the parts. Anyway, we do have little rubber bushings here. It's going to be a question of figuring out what combination of rubber bushings works the best. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but just as an example, the hole in the back being bigger, a big plus. This, a little bit of a minus, you've got to improvise. The worst that would happen, go down to Lowe's or whatever and buy some rubber washers. So the way this worked out, and I'm just doing a dry fit now before I make a final decision here, because what I want to do, I want to make sure this there's enough of a rubber washer in there to give this a little vibration. Well, I guess we're going to find out. Since the original one was rubber mounted, you would think, well, there may be some benefit to that. And if we can't do it, then that's on us. But so far, the fact that I didn't have to drill that out saves one step. I've got to get these kind of lined up before I hand tighten them. But this is just a dry fit anyway. And I want to get the ground wires on there. And it looks like, well, I'm not disappointed at all the way this fit. Well, that's going to be nice. Now, I don't know if I'm going to need a thinner rubber washer until I actually tighten this up. I may want to see, I know that when they're stock, they move just a little bit because they're mounted in rubber. And maybe that's what saves the bulbs from the 2-cycle vibration. Maybe I should just buy some bulbs and the hell with it. But anyway, I like the look of it. It actually looks nicer than the stock one. And it still is in keeping with the right era of the bike. Okay, the only thing left now is going to be to hook up the right blinker to the right side, left blinker to the right, and then what I'll do is I'll test the blinkers before I fool with the headlight. Then I'm going to have to replace this. I don't know if I'm going to have to replace it till I see if these line up with the old plug. But I'd say right up to this point, that was a pretty easy job. So the two biggest issues that I thought I'd have, the final fit, and that was not a problem at all. It fit actually pretty good. And making a rubber washer or combination of rubber washers, certainly not a big deal. And because I have these plugs marked, should be relatively straightforward. And the two ground wires are on. Now, another thing, when you're going to put this back in, when this goes back in, I got to hook up the ground wires. You don't want to squash these. You want to get them kind of spread apart because that bulb has got to sit with the point of the bulb right in that groove in the back. Moment of truth. Do we have blinkers? Blinkers in the back. Blinkers in the front. Want to make sure I haven't misdiagnosed something here. Okay, everything works. It's our lucky day, truly our lucky day. Now the last part of this puzzle is going to be if this piece, let's see how this goes on here. And what a free bonus of this is, that I have the extra, I thought I had an extra one of these, but I don't. But it looks like they're interchangeable. We're going to find out in about 30 seconds. Or if they've changed something. Oh my God. You got to really be strong to get that on. It's easier to put a Michelin tire on a warm day. Okay, so we got the bulb. And this is supposed to be a different and a better bulb. It's an H4, whatever that means. And let's see if we line this up. And if this may not even have to replace this little, the little end. It looks like we won't have to. Woo! Okay, so that goes on there. This goes up here. And that goes down on there. Oh boy, you gotta be a monster to put these rubber parts on. Okay. I guess that just seals it up. You don't get any moisture in there. Very nice. Okay, now, for the real test, does the headlight work? Ha! Holy God. Wow, do we have a high beam? Whoa, high beam, low beam, high beam. Wow, that's a powerful headlight. I'll probably have to buy a bigger battery for the bike now. We don't need that on right now. I very seldom ride at night. So, but when I do, like when Turbo Steve and I went to Ruts Hut to the bike show, of course, you want to have a headlight to get home. Anyway, just gonna be real careful putting these parts in. Make sure nothing's getting chewed up, and 2 screws hold this in it. But this was not difficult at all. And I hope John can use this if he sells this to somebody and they're not sure how to put the headlight in. John, you have my full endorsement to send them out the link to this video. with my compliments. Now I found a little thing that's a little bit more difficult maybe than the stock part, is to get all the wires in place and then line up, and it's doable, but it takes a little time, and then line up the screw holes, which look like we got them now. I'm not sure we got them. We got to do a little figuring this out here. See, because there's a snap and then it turns. There it goes, and it turns. Now it's in. Oh, I don't want to. See, the idea is not to pinch the wires when you do this. And oh yeah, now that's very nicely engineered. It stays in place while you put the screw in. As I say, that may not work exactly as planned, but let's see. Yeah, I guess they were right. Now, as I put the last screw in, and that really completes the assembly. I really like the look of the chrome. I like the look. I didn't know if I would, but again, if I turn this, and everybody knows my tendency to do evil twins with everything. If I evil twin this out, I'll save the stock headlight, of course, and ooh, but that chrome, to me, this part I'm sure would be a nightmare to get chrome. So around here, again, I don't know wherever somebody else lives, but around here you can't get anything done. The EPA has everything on lockdown, so wow. Now, the one final thing I'll do, and no need to do it on camera, I'll check all the features of the bike to make sure I haven't pinched any wires in that headlight. I'm just so old school about all this stuff, it makes me crazy. But I really don't like working on electrical stuff, but when I have to, and when I'm really in a pinch, I always look on YouTube for some tips and hints from the people that share their information on YouTube. And thank you everybody that shares their information on YouTube. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope there's some useful information or some inspiration or something that worked out. John said this fit pretty well, and he was right. And you don't have to drill those holes for an RD. Not that that's a big deal. Anyway, and by the way, if you are going to drill them, don't drill them, ream them. It's a lot better. You won't catch the drill and make a mess. Anyway, I just try to share simple, useful backyard mechanic information. I'm not, top level MotoGP mechanic or anything, but I do manage with a limited resources and a limited amount of time and energy to put together what I think is a pretty nice bike collection. So if you can benefit from that, and you can go back in my, now it's going to be 1800 soon, but within a week it's going to be 1800. Look at those videos and you can peel out some information, changing tires, swapping Ducati motors, something that appeals to you. I'm glad you can do it. This was a nice little job. And I have to be honest, I mean, I've been to art school. I don't want anybody to think that I'm not qualified to make this decision just because I'm not. But I have been to art school, and I think when I get Karen out here, I'm going to put this out in the garage, in the driveway later. Let her take a look at it. That chrome headlight complements the motor, the polishing of the aluminum, in a way I didn't expect. That was kind of a free surprise and a free lunch or free gefilte fish or something. Anyway, always before I end my video lately anyway, since we're all suffering from this coronavirus, I want to thank our healthcare heroes. When I rode around the other day on a GS, I saw every third or fourth house in some of those towns have a sign thanking the healthcare workers, and actually Miles made a sign that's in a window of his house, a big blue, we use in Rutherford, New Jersey, a big blue heart, signifying thank the healthcare workers. But if we didn't have them and we were all sick or dead, this would be a whole, if I was dead, this would be a whole different video. I don't know why I'm thinking like that. Anyway, I don't want to ramble on and on. I want to thank John, thank the people that made the product. It's a good product. It was easy to install. And I hope you like these old two-strokes and these old bikes as much as I do. And again, thanks for watching. Okay, so it's supper time in the Ertnowski household. And what do we have here, Mrs. Ertnowski?
You have Cuban black bean soup.
Cuban black bean soup. Oh, I bet Jose's going to be jealous of that. And what do we have for salad tonight?
You have a nice salad.
Ooh, baby peppers. We're going to grow our own peppers this year.
And that's an arugula salad.
An arugula salad. Ooh. Yep. Making me hungry. I feel like I'm at Downton Abbey. So today, while working on the RD, I realized something, and I thought I'd try to share it. I'm not sure this is going to come out the way I expect, but the people that already have an interest in RDs will already know what I'm talking about, and for the rest of the people, maybe they could figure some of it out. People like Luciano and Ray here, they already know what the attraction of these older bikes. They're now 40, this one's 43 years old. There's my original AMAR bike. Ray still has it. That's the one I restored, I don't even know, 8-10 years ago. Long time ago anyway. But here's the big thing, that it's very hard to explain to people. Modern bikes are pretty much maintenance free. You don't do a whole lot to them. You don't do anything to them sometimes. Sometimes you don't even have to do it. They tell you when they need an oil change. But anyway, back in the day, and this is why I love them so much. They were so simple, so easy to work on, so easy to maintain, and the biggest thing, they were inexpensive. Because as a young man, as a really young man, I basically had not a lot of money. And so what would happen is my friends that had more expensive bikes, bigger bikes, I would just love the idea that I could get one of these, especially if I got it as a wreck and made one bike from two and kept the extra parts and had extra wheels and everything. And I learned how to do a lot of the basic maintenance, basic tire changing, basic jetting. And now that I'm at this point in my life, you know, at the bottom of the ninth here, I'm looking for a way to relive that youth and recapture some of it. And I've tried to explain to people maybe that have never had an interest in two-strokes. There's something about these bikes. When you get together with other people that have two-strokes, it's just hard to define. You go winding them up through the gears and you listen to that engine run and, oh my God, it's just wonderful. Again, there's something about it I can't explain. I don't even know, but I know it's there. And I know what happens is you build friendships, like the friendship I have with Ray and Luciano and many, Mark Morgan. People that have an interest in this, and it's a very unusual, right now there are not that many of them left. The ones that are left, we're trying to keep them alive, like Economy Cycle is trying to do by making some of these parts available. You can still buy them at I think at a pretty reasonable price. If you do the restoration yourself, you're probably going to have a lot of fun for a very little money, but they are getting harder and harder and harder to find parts for. And that's why I was so happy today to get this from Economy Cycle and have it work perfectly. That just really made my day complete. Again, thank you, John. And some of these old memories, it's the memories. I don't even know how you would explain it, but I know it's there. And I would just end this by saying some pretty wonderful memories.